Let's talk about the truth about lead, the lead agenda. Should we all be worried and anxious about lead? Well, there's no fear here ever. And there's no one size fits all for anything ever. And you'll note that in my product recommendations, I typically offer multiple options. I'm always looking for solutions that perhaps you can DIY yourself, save some money. Most of us who are in the environmental illness category are canaries in the coal mine, and our finances show it. So I've been pondering how to approach this topic for months because a lot of people have been really programmed, and I use that word intentionally. I did start a video initially on this. I got 30 minutes in and all I'd covered was one company. Yes, that is how thorough I am. I don't want to bore you guys to death with that sort of information. To be clear, this is not an ad hominem attack on anyone. This is peaceable. This is non-anxiety forming. There is no one-size-fits-all solution for anything ever. But I do advise the precautionary principle. If you think something is toxic or potentially harmful for you, then the precautionary principle advises prudent avoidance. When it's prudent, avoid it if possible. I believe that some of the people who discuss this topic ad nauseum are those with good intentions, but they lack background and research methodology, and their lives and the lives of their families probably don't depend on accurate information. Whoops, not that. I trusted the experts, I trusted the tests, and that yes, there is one test that I warned about years ago when it first came out. I said I'm almost 100% certain this is going to be toxic. This is not going to be used as we are told. And guess what? The CDC came out months later and publicly stated on page 40 of one of their documents, yeah, we don't have anything to test for, but you should go get tested. You should keep getting tested anyways. And oh yeah, other people have examined those tests and found them to be toxic, and people are now freaking out still about where their genetic information has gone from those tests. And yeah, I warned about it from day one on our Facebook page, but most people didn't heed my warnings. Most people don't heed my warnings. Please heed my warnings. I put this information out. I don't make a profit on the information that I put out there. Yes, I am affiliates for some specific companies, and I do link to, some affiliate things such as on Amazon and eBay, etc. But that actually all goes back to expenses. I did think at one point that the books had made a profit. No, I was wrong, because I forgot about the $150 or so which I spent on some things specifically to test to see if they worked or not for this book, and they didn't work. So I still have not actually profited from either of these books. I don't actually profit from the information that I put out online. There are ways that you can support us, and that link, whoopsie daisy, that link is actually down at the bottom because I don't like to put it in people's faces constantly. And then also, if you click here on courses, then we do have Substack and Patreon. I appreciate you guys, the Substackians and patrons, so much, and I'm so sorry that I don't say it more often. There's just only so much time. You guys know that I appreciate you. We do have more, supporters now, so we might actually, the online information and the books, we might actually break even on that this year. We'll see. Yeah, so there's that. Please heed my warnings. Okay. We really need to ask why lead is mainstream. Now, some of my addressal of this topic of lead may have to be I may choose to make it members only content. This isn't going to be like a formal series by any stretch of the imagination, so be sure that you are subscribed to us everywhere. If you go to our website, you can find all of our, subscribe to our free newsletter, and then you can subscribe everywhere here. You just never know these days when we're going to get kicked off. I got kicked off of Minds, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. Yeah, that was, and then of course we're, they love us here, and they love us here, and they love us here especially. They love the information that I put out. If you subscribe on here, then you probably won't get any notifications here, and you might be unsubscribed on here if you subscribe. So there's that. That's just the fact of the matter of the reality of putting out actual fact-based information these days online. But I may put some of it for members only on Patreon and Substack. I'm not certain yet, because otherwise I'll get trolled to death. I'll probably still get trolled to death on there regardless. This video probably will be trolled to death. I'm sure there are plenty of sock puppet accounts that will be commenting and saying I'm an idiot. I don't monitor comments, by the way. I don't have time for that. I'm an EMF canary as well, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome. So my time online is limited, and it is a sacrifice for me to be doing what I'm doing and sharing information online. Asking why lead concerns have gone mainstream. Well, what about one moment. What about this here? I know I'm pretty much the only person publishing content on this topic. There's a reason for that. Latex allergy is estimated to be a problem for up to 15% of the world's population. Up to 15%. And I know you're not going to find this information on PubMed. I'll address PubMed in a second. You will note here that, yes, some of the references are within the website, but I have a lot of references that are authoritative. Okay, none of these here are, these are all on the website thus far, but these here have links to other authoritative sources. Here, National Institute of Health. You used to be able to find this information. Here's from Science Direct. Here's from the Royal Horticultural Society. Here's from Nature. Here we look at the Global Organic Latex Standard. Here I discuss PubMed. I warned about PubMed years ago. You used to be, previously a simple search on PubMed for latex toxic would immediately offer pages of applicable studies. That's no longer the case, and I've warned about this for years. Here we go. Natural rubber latex tubing is toxic to zooplankton. That's some random landscaping company. So it's not really authoritative, but that's just saying that they have some citations, I believe, if I remember right. Here's another article from Washington State University about how toxic rubber mulch truly is. So here's another study here. I mean, hey, here's an article from, I don't even know what place. Here's IAEA.org. Natural rubber latex been found to be cytotoxic. Here are medical billing codes. Here's another article from PubMed. So I don't just link to myself. I actually have authoritative citations. And this is important to note. Please note this. So latex allergy this is just an example. Okay, so lead is mainstream. Latex, almost all so-called natural living experts, remember the experts, that was Kitty. Kitty says hi. Remember, the experts. This book is a warning to all who read it. Failure to question the experts in a given field can have catastrophic repercussion repercussions. The experts say lead is scary. Get rid of your lead paint. Be afraid. Latex allergy is estimated to be a problem for over 15% of the population, yet latex mattresses aren't questioned by the natural living so-called experts, and they're not questioned by most people. Why isn't that mainstream if it can impact potentially up to 15% of the population? Why is it that something that is demonstrably a sensitizing toxicant, hardly anybody knows hardly anything about it? It's not just latex condoms, balloons, and gloves like your doctor's office thinks. That's absurd. That information, the information that I share on latex, is actively suppressed. There are some people who do find our articles now and then on Google, but I have article upon article with citation, so many authoritative citations, and clearly this is not information that the military industrial intelligence complex of corporations, multinational corporations, wants you to know about. So I don't want you to have fear about natural rubber latex or your mattress or any of these things. I just want you to have the information of all of the things. I want you to see the big picture of the world in which we're living in. And if someone doesn't have that big information, that big picture, they're going to make different recommendations than I do. And they're going to, because their experiences and their beliefs are going to differ from mine. In our About Us page, it's basically a short synopsis of my book, Poison. And either of those books you can get from your library via ebook or paperback copy, by the way. All right. Another key point I wanted to make is that my recommendations do change. And this is something that I update in my newsletters, sometimes in blog posts when a company changes, and when they go from my yay list to my oh no they did not just tell me that list, or no they did not just try to gaslight me. Affiliate money is simply not worth my soul. Quite frankly, everybody has different priorities, of course. Naturally occurring lead is on my radar. It is a consideration, but there is a lot that most people don't know about the world and just how toxic it is and the related agendas of this world. I know a lot of you are familiar with the agendas of this world, and you see the big picture. But so this is going to hopefully address the big picture to an extent. For a lot of people simply aren't going to be ready, and probably never will be ready because the cognitive dissonance is so strong. Please listen to this in entirety and subscribe everywhere so you don't miss future videos in regards to lead. There is a reason why lead concerns are mainstream. It's not because the newscasters actually care about your health. As you can see, I have my non-toxic salt guide here, which was published November 30th, 2019. I have a number of authoritative citations here. We're not going to dig deep into this, and of course, this is not medical information or advice. Consult your doctor. I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's basically what the FDA wants me to say. So table salt is categorically unsafe. If you are brokety broke, then ditch your table salt and get the cheapest non-table salt alternative you can get at your grocery store. That's going to be better than table salt. And I know some people say trace minerals aren't actually a thing. Yeah, they are. Concentrace is the only latex safe brand that I'm aware of, by the way, and that is what we use here. There are a ton of table salt additives. Folic acid, by the way, is literally a pharmaceutical drug. Science-based medicine literally said, at best, folic acid is ineffective, and at worst, it may be increasing the risks of some cancers. Sodium fluoride, hopefully you're filtering that crap out of your water. And I do not have a recommendation for a water filter for everyone, because that is ridiculous. If someone is saying that these are the 3 best water filters for everyone, they don't know what they're talking about, because water has different contaminants and additives depending on where you're living. However, distilled water, in my opinion, is probably the best. We distill our drinking water, and then we do have inline filtration, but our inline water filtration is customized based on what is added to our water locally. So there are a number of other things here. Some are concerning, some are not concerning. They sound scary, but they're not actually concerning. There are a lot of potential contaminants in sea salt. Just one moment. I apologize for that. It was just another scam phone call. So, we're looking here a little bit at contaminants in sea salt. And this is sea salt from the ocean. Sea salt derived from oceanic sources is going to contain a toxic soup of everything that's dumped into our waterways legally and illegally, including the more than 100,000 chemicals used commercially. There is also stratospheric injection of nanoparticulates, and a lot of that occurs in the ocean, which we may or may not address at a later date in a separate video. And all of that ends up in the ocean. Now, when sea salt is derived from ocean water, those contaminants are then concentrated, and this includes nanoparticulates. There is not actually a standard in regards to nano additives here in the United States, so they can be added legally to anything, and they are. There's a lot of that in our food supply, or quote unquote food supply. So sea salt is going to concentrate what is in sea water. And yes, when that processed product is then tested, it may be lower in naturally occurring lead, but it's going to be higher in other things that are not tested for. Here I need to show you something on our website here. I could talk about lead for so long. Just days and days and days. Bore y'all to pieces. I'm not sure which post this is on in regards to paint. I think it's on this one here. Oh, here we go. I think this is it. Here, yeah, the no VOC, zero VOC, or low VOC paints are declared to be non-toxic. Look at that pretty certification. It must mean something. VOCs are unhealthy, and this paint can says it doesn't have VOCs, right? Okay. Wrong. Those green certification programs only test for a very limited number of VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, and we can apply this to our understanding of salt. Okay, so there are very specific tests that are being used in very specific manners. Some of the tests which are used to declare whether lead is in a product or not are not testing for all forms of lead. They're only testing for one form of lead. And then also different sources of lead need to have different tests conducted on them to know what to be accurate. Okay, so we're questioning the tests in this discussion. So some of the paints, for example, that are declared to be low VOC or no VOC actually have higher overall levels of VOCs than the original paint. And you can, I just showed you how you can find this article on our website. Go to the search, put in paint, and you can dig deeper into this. Certifications are not what we are told, okay? I don't care about third-party certifications. It means absolutely nothing to me. It tells me zero information almost all of the time. Okay. And I also addressed in this article about sodium and potassium being magnesium cofactors, essential magnesium cofactors, I might add. This is, of course, an older article. I haven't updated it for a few years, so I have different opinions now, because that's what adults do. They obtain additional information, and rather than becoming emotional and engaging in cognitive dissonance, they absorb the information, process it, and potentially change their mind about something or refine their beliefs and understanding. And so this is what I do. So my information and recommendations can thus change over time. I'm still using this salt up here that I have here. I did get a stockpile of it, I don't know, 2020 or 2021. So yeah, I don't want to be wasteful of it. That is a potential factor, of course. That is a factor which I take into consideration in understanding the big picture, how, for me personally, in making the decision regarding salt and lead. However, were I to buy sea salt, let's say I need to go buy sea salt, this is actually what I would buy. And I'm not a direct affiliate. You know, there's an Amazon link there, but I'm not a direct affiliate for Redmond salt. But as I discussed here, there is one drawback, and that's potential lead from the surrounding soil. Now, the people who are posting about this are saying that Redmond is high in lead. Now, perhaps it is high in naturally occurring lead. What about nano lead? What about, other things? What about man-made lead? What about all the contaminants that are not being tested for? What about nanonized aluminum? What about barium strontium titanate? What about all of those things? So those things are not being addressed, and we have to form our understanding and make our choices from the big picture rather than focusing in on one thing that we're emotional about, because the mainstream media has fear-mongered us to pieces about lead paint. So I do practice prudent avoidance, as I mentioned. So most of, actually, I miswrote here. I said I ditched all of our old lead-containing dishware and decor. That's not actually correct. Most of it. Anyways, so most of it I did, but not all of it. And I'm still not convinced that what I'm using is indeed free of naturally occurring lead, simply because of the tests. We got to question the tests. We're going to dig deeper into that. Hopefully in this video, we'll see. But everyone's going to have come to different conclusions based on their risk factors, whether they, what they can afford. Lead is not high on my list. Naturally occurring lead is not high on my concern list. As a matter of fact, it's relatively low. And years ago on PubMed, you used to be able to get on there, and I don't know if it's probably not the case anymore. And you used to be able to find third-party, peer-reviewed studies that the funding checked out. I researched the researchers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there is empirical evidence that lead may not be, in fact, a heavy metal, for one. And for two, lead may not actually be the toxin that some people get sick from when paint is sanded, etc., or they eat it like an idiot. I'm not planning to dig into that, because there are so many other things to dig into in discussing and analyzing and processing the factors in analyzing this issue. But I just wanted to to bring that up. So I do have an old series on how to research everything, and that includes this guide about how toxic chemicals are legal, how to research best practice building methods, going back to the basics. I'm not sure how far I got into that. That has 69. If you hit return, you know, it shows a bunch of, I don't know, maybe I didn't have as much up on here as I thought in that regard. I do have some more videos that I recorded years ago in that series, but you got to go back to basics. And I didn't show back to basics. Whoops. Here, you got to go back to basics to research everything. That's actual. I got another problem here on my search. Hidden latex and dryers. Okay, you got to go back to the basics to research everything. So that's what we're doing in this discussion. We are we're exercising basic logic. We're understanding that ivory tower language is intended to confuse and deceive you, and thus a study may not actually say what the average person thinks it says. We're going to question the tests. I used to trust the tests. I used to trust the experts. Look what happened to me. How am I still alive? Look at what happened to me. I trusted the test. I trusted the experts. I am paying the price. Financially, physically, socially. I mean, you name it. I have paid the price. It's a miracle I'm alive. Okay. This is another good article to consider looking through. So we're also going to ask, you know, what is actually being tested for? Is the test statistically reliable? What is the maximum published statistical reliability? Were multiple samples from the same material sent to multiple testing facilities? Were the control steps taken to prevent sample contamination? Are those facilities or companies, such as one we'll look at here, worthy of our trust for our health? Are they worthy of our trust? That is an assessment you have to make yourself. I'm simply providing you with information. I'm giving you some very limited snapshot of the information in which I use to form my conclusion about this topic. And again, this is a very limited amount of information, but it's some of the highlights. So, and so on and so forth, okay? I found 2 bloggers posting online about lab tests for lead and salt. I don't want to be construed as attacking anyone. Again, this is not an ad hominem attack. Some people who talk about lead have good intentions. Some do not. Some are just ignorant. So the 2 that were posting as far as 2024 goes about lab tests for lead and salt. One of them just said, and I quote, "an EPA certified lab," end quote. The EPA does not care about your health. If you think the government cares about your health, think again. They are not there for your health. Numerous arms have been disclosed in public hearings as being the fox guarding the hen house. They will not protect your health. Do not trust them with your health is my advice. If you choose to trust the EPA with your health, that is your choice. I respect your choice to trust the EPA with your health. I did. Look at what happened to me. It nearly killed me, and it wasn't just a one-time almost dying. I have used hundreds of EpiPens in my life. I was on over 75 pills a day for years. I trusted the industry regulators. It nearly killed me. Heed my warning. Now, an EPA certified lab, that tells me absolutely nothing. I can't vet a vague lab. Oh, it's some EPA certified lab. Okay, that tells me so much. Thank you so much. It's just like third-party certification. I don't care if something's third-party certified. I don't care if a lab is EPA certified. That tells me absolutely nothing. I can't vet that test. So one of them, I can't vet the test, doesn't tell me anything. That's not cool. That's not cool. I don't appreciate that. The other option here is Simple Lab. The other person who posted results mentioned Simple Lab as the source of the tests. I really appreciate that. Thank you, person who I am not naming, for sharing that publicly, because I really appreciate that. That gives me some information. Does it give me the information which I need? Well, just as we research the researchers in evaluating studies, let's research this company a little bit. Now, this is what I said I spent 30 minutes in a video looking at. So, yeah, we could go pretty deep in this, but we're not going to. Again, look, I'm right from the horse's mouth. This is gosimplelab.com/labs. I am showing you evidence right here. Hundreds of labs, one platform. Hundreds of labs. Become a member lab. Tell us what you do best. Not, we will evaluate you to see what you do best. Tell us what you do best. So I could say, if I'm an EPA certified lab, that I do lead testing best. Even if I don't. This is like people claiming to be an expert about anything. Now, by the way, some have referenced me as an expert on certain topics. Please don't lump me in with those who claim to be experts. Okay? I appreciate that, but please don't use that term in reference to me. It doesn't offend me. I understand your intent, and I honor that intent. But I don't want to be lumped in with people who claim to be experts about anything. I claim to be an expert about my health, my history, and to a lesser extent, an expert on my husband's health. So, and my experiences, of course. And then set your price and turn around, more samples. All right, so this can be one. I saw somewhere where it said that there are hundreds of labs. Hundreds of labs. Well, here's the thing. I can't vet that. I can't vet that. And again, I honor and appreciate the posting of that this was Simple Lab and the actual test. I really, really appreciate posting the actual test results. But it didn't tell me which lab, the test results. That's relevant to me. So it could be one of hundreds of labs. It could be the worst lab in their system, in their network. This is a third-party network, okay? Again, now I'm sure they require EPA certification for their tests, but tell us what you do best, not we will evaluate and test to see or not. Now, Simple Lab, I'm sure you've got the best of intentions and all of these other things, and I'm sure you're awesome, and this is not in any way attacking you, because what you're doing is, clearly being used by people, and I believe, there is, a place for these sorts of things, but we need to be sure that we are looking at what companies are actually doing. All right. Obviously, I dig deeper. We need to research companies and really have a good understanding of what they're offering and what the test is. And I can't vet the test. I can't. It's literally impossible for me to vet the test because it could be one of hundreds of labs. This is a recommendation, Simple Lab, for doing so. Share on your paper of the test result which lab it is so that I can vet the lab. I would appreciate that. Okay. All right. So in continuing Simple Lab, so here, this is associated with Simple Lab. Simple Lab TAP score. Before TAP score, we founded Simple Lab. So this is founded by the same people who founded Simple Lab, an award-winning science and health services company dedicated to improving the way we test and drink and treat our drinking water. This was conceived in a single lab at UC Berkeley, which, actually, I've already got this up here. Here we go. A UC Berkeley, if you look, there's a lot with the military-industrial intelligence complex in regards to partnerships with UC Berkeley. So that's just something to consider if that's something you care about. And then also they have a research partnership with UC Berkeley with the EPA and with SBIR America's Seed Fund. So this led me to ask, what the heck is SBIR America's Seed Fund? Okay. An official website of the United States government. All right, we invest, so this seed fund, nsf.gov, we invest up to $2 million in seed funding and take zero equity. So this is funded by the U.S. government. This is part of the National Science Foundation. The National Science Foundation is the science front of an agency that I can't name. Sorry guys, I can't name it. You're gonna have to look into that yourself. Okay. NSF, National Science Foundation. All right, that's a red flag for me personally. It may not be a red flag for you. Maybe you love the National Science Foundation. Maybe you love the military-industrial intelligence complex. Maybe you trust the military-industrial intelligence complex, and maybe you love multinational corporations that are actively trying to kill you. Whoops, I don't know what that is there. Okay, so Simple Lab here is on pitchbook.com. And it's on some other ones as well, like Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet didn't actually tell me anything that I wanted to know. So Simple Lab is actually still in the venture capital stage, according to this. I don't know if that's true or not. Don't know if that's true or not. Apparently it's formerly known as Simple Water. Financing status, it's venture capital backed. Do you know really much about venture capital backing? That is a red flag for me personally. I honestly don't know what accelerator/incubator means. I assume that this means the research phase. I assume that that's what it means. Don't quote me on this because I'm not sure. But venture capital, okay. Well, if you really look at, well, for one, I would like to know who, from who, or whom, who's funding it. Okay, that's concerning to me. May not be concerning to you. Again, you know, everybody's got different risk factors, different opinions. You know what? I missed something here. Our story. Simple Lab. I think that's it right there. I may have missed something here. Let's go back and look. Excuse me. Bourbon. And by the way, I did a big deep dive on that guy. Not gonna do it now. No, okay, we're good. So I wonder what the rainwater testing would, anyway, sorry. Distractible any? All right, so I've got a lot of questions about these tests. Okay, so what form of lead is being tested for? Simple Lab. What form of lead is being tested for? Is it industrial lead? We don't know. Is it lead salts? Is it metallic lead? Metallic lead is less toxic, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. But metallic lead is less toxic than some other forms of lead. Is it nano lead? And nano particles at the nano level behave unpredictably. So there's really no information on toxicity at the nano level for anything. We just know it's insane, and we don't want nano stuff in us. So is this naturally occurring lead that they're testing for? I would suggest probably, but I don't know for sure because, again, we don't know. Because there's no information. How bioavailable is a specific lead? We don't know. We don't know any of these things. And making declarations about this being toxic and this being non-toxic and this being the healthier salt, and this being the worst one, I can't make those recommendations because we don't know. And I know that this is not something that other people are broaching really in this field, but there's a reason why we have so few subscribers everywhere. That's because our content is shadow banned and blacklisted, yo. There's a reason why our content is shadow banned and blacklisted. It's not because I'm wrong. It's because I'm careful. And because I'm careful, well, industries hate me. It is what it is. So there's another question. Is the test actually testing for lead? Like, how do we know? How do we know? Well, we don't really know because we have no information. Again, I appreciate that the one person shared that they're using Simple Lab, but again, it's basically telling me, oh, it's an EPA certified lab. Just trust me, bro. Well, I can't just trust you, bro, because if I do, I might die. So I have to go with all of the information that I have available to me, and by doing so, I have declared, in my assessment, I don't see Simple Lab or a quote-unquote EPA certified lab, end quote, as authoritative or helpful when I can't research the test. So is it actually testing for a form of lead? We don't know. Were multiple samples sent in of the same source product to multiple vetted labs? Not either. Both of the people that I saw, bloggers, neither one of them did that. Okay, again, multiple samples to multiple labs. That is proper science, my dear. That is how proper science is conducted. If you don't know anything about research methodology, then you need to go buy a research methods book from the early 2000s or so. There's probably some available for free online. I don't know what's being taught today in colleges. I don't know anything about those research methods books. But what I know about research methodology was from the early 2000s. And as far as I'm concerned, no one's really doing proper or conducting proper tests in regards to lead with this full picture, with the whole picture and this full understanding that I'm trying to communicate to you. So we can't vet the lab, we can't vet the test. As a reminder, the scientific literature has warned for years that doctors are not trained to be scientists anymore. And that same literature has warned that science isn't scientific. I have a great deal of information about so-called science here. The state of science today and the basic principles thereof. That's actually part of my How to Research Everything series. Why we can't always trust science. And there's more to that. Let's see. Cancer. There was that's not showing up now. There was a study done. Hopefully this does not result in my videos being blocked everywhere. This over a year of full-time research and over 75 authoritative citations. I don't know where it's at now. I had a post on here about, it was a postdoc. Nope. What was the name of that? Can't remember the name. It's not, this might actually be the post about the guy who allegedly did research on cancer, but he just took a bunch of, yep, this is it, a postdoc. He just took a bunch of money, and a former postdoc at the U.S. National Cancer Institute made up data for 59 experiments that never happened. Yeah, that is science today, my dear. Woo! Okay, so yeah, you guys know what happens to whistleblowers, right? They're ostracized, unpublished, and bankrupted. Some are forced into early retirement, and those are the lucky ones that don't get whacked. So again, are these specific lead tests using the best test for testing all of the lead types in a material like salt? Because if you're testing a dish, you're going to use a different test, most likely, than a test for salt. So is the appropriate test being used? We don't know. Again, we have no information, basically. So if we have no information about these tests, should we trust those tests? In my opinion, in my assessment, no. In my assessment, those tests are worthless. They tell me nothing. They tell me absolutely nothing. So we must ask these questions rather than worship at the altar of trust the test. It's science. This is science. This is science today. This is literally science today. Go get a research methods book. Before you're looking at studies, you need to understand research methodology. Because if you're reading studies and sharing those studies without having a solid foundation in research methodology, you're going to come to very different conclusions about your health. Also, it's nigh on impossible to find any accurate information from PubMed, etc. today. That's why I offer fewer and fewer citations as the days go by. I don't even look at studies anymore unless there is like a consultation or something that comes along where they need some. I don't look at studies for myself anymore. A lot of the actual science that used to be conducted has been scrubbed online. It's just gone. It's just gone. The 59 fake studies that never happened. That's just one example. Okay, that's just one example. So if this is the sort of thing that you trust, then you're probably going to trust the lead testing that others are doing. Again, this is not an ad hominem attack. I truly believe that some of the people do indeed have just genuine intent. They just don't have the full picture. And as we mature as individuals, we need to absorb additional information and change our minds about things if necessary. I used to be kind of scared about lead. I gotta tell you. Now I'm not. Now I'm like, whatever. I don't even care hardly. For those of you who have been with me and have read, for example, my book Poisoned, you know what happened to me in April of 2020. The only way I survived for 6 months, the only way I survived was my cast iron bathtub. It's antique. It has lead paint. I'm almost certain on it. I would be dead without that bathtub. Are you hearing me? On April 22nd, many of us EMF canaries went into dystopic nightmares. And that's discussed here. My chickens all of a sudden were hypoxic. I walked outside. We live in a 6-acre woods in a wooded area. Oxygen didn't used to be a problem here. Overnight, it was like there was no oxygen outside. My chickens were walking around in circles. They were turning blue. I got them under a metal roof, and that helps. So that's one reason why I still recommend the roof that I do recommend. And that's the roof that I have. We have a standing seam metal roof. Some people seem to have forgotten that research methodology classes from college are important and relevant to life and making decisions. Maybe I suspect that a lot of people don't have the background in research methodology and in designing, implementing, and then ripping their own study to shreds that I do. Because actual scientists, when they are publishing, they will literally rip their study to shreds. And that's what I did in my write-up, which I never published. And I think I share some here because I basically got sucked into working. I lost my funding for my graduate work. So that's important for you to keep in mind. Now, I could talk about lead test ad nauseum. We are already at over 50 minutes, so I think I'm going to call it there. And also, my throat is getting sore from talking. I'm not a big fan of my voice, and I apologize if you don't like my voice. But this is important information. I probably will link to some things below, but not all. You know, I recommend reading the SALT guide. Again, this was published in 2019. We've got hundreds of posts up on our website for you to explore. Many of them have a lot of... What did I do? Hold on. Okay, there we go. I always have to remind myself as to how to use Bandicam. A lot of the posts on our website do have a number of authoritative citations, such as my article here on concrete, which I desperately need to update. I need to update a lot of things, but I also need to just put more information out there because I know you guys are searching for it, and you know you're asking me. I may have to stop responding much to short or to brief questions just because I have so much on my plate here personally. So here, you know, in the concrete article, I'm looking at the SDS sheet. Sorry, I almost cussed accidentally. You know, I've got, there's actually an article from Slate, which I would not recommend as an authoritative source. You know, I've got Earth Justice here. Here's another one here. You know, got coarse aggregate. You know, there's all of this information here. Here's the SDS for fly ash. By the way, fly ash is dumped in our skies along with the stratospheric injection of nanoparticulates. So that stuff gets concentrated in the oceans. It's no wonder everything's dying in the oceans, you guys. You've got admixtures here, which are organic and inorganic. So there are a lot of things to look at. And I hope this has been beneficial to you and, you know, given you peace in making decisions. I understand that I hope that I didn't add to any chaos and confusion, because there is no right answer when it comes to this question about salt. Just like there's no right answer for a faucet. There's no right answer for shoes. I address latex allergy a lot because nobody else is talking about it really. So if you want to mirror any of my content, you're most welcome to. Just throw in a link, please. That's all I ask. Just throw in a link. And apparently I lost my little thing at the bottom to stop this recording because I'm incredible with technology. Hang in there. I hope this has offered some factors to take into consideration. And next time, if there is a next time in regards to this topic, we'll address why lead has gone mainstream. Consider what lead paint blocks. There's your answer right there. there's your answer right there. So, non-toxic gout, hang in there.